Well, I hope you did good on the last test. I hope you're beginning to realize once again that everything on the video seems to be on the test. So be sure and keep studying. I really like the next set of material that we're going to do. The next set of material is we're going to start learning a lot about development. We're going to learn about ourselves. We're going to learn about other people. We're going to learn about human development, things that occur naturally in our body that we don't even really control. The first one is melatonin. Now, melatonin is a sleep-inducing hormone. Now, this is kind of interesting because melatonin itself is actually generated from the sun. So it's really interesting because when the sun comes down, it actually, as it hits our skin, it actually produces the skin, it actually causes the skin to produce a melatonin hormone. Isn't that amazing? And that's sleep-inducing. So when we've absorbed a lot of sun, we actually get tired. Oh, well, that's pretty neat. Well, if you're out working all day, like you get up, the sun comes up, back in the old days when the rooster crowed. Now, the rooster crows all the time now. Why is that? Because the rooster has melatonin in it. It used to signal it when the sun came up, but now we have artificial lighting. Wow. So if you used to get up back at daybreak and, man, you got out there when the sun was going, then by the end of the day, you were so tired, man, when the sun went down, you went to bed. So melatonin, sleep-inducing hormone. But what's the problem today? The problem today is like look where we're at inside. There is no sunlight. We might exist all day long under artificial lighting. So we wonder why in the world we have trouble sleeping. We're kind of like, man, I just can't go to sleep. Well, they actually even make a natural melatonin, okay, that you can actually take, and a lot of people take melatonin to sleep because they don't get enough sun. In Alaska, where they have periods of time where they might even go 24 hours of sunlight the whole day, or they might go 24 hours of darkness, they have to take melatonin because their body has no way to signal it that it's time to go to bed. So melatonin, sleep-inducing hormone. Well, that leads us into what's called the biological clock. Your biological clock is simply how you operate. Okay, so somebody that operates, that gets up early in the morning, works all day, and then when the sun goes down, and then they get tired and they go to bed early, they're on that old melatonin clock. But now, once again, now that we have all this artificial lighting and everything that we have in society today, we can even control our environment. We come in, it can be warm, it can be cold, we can have a lot of light, not very much light. So our biological clock is kind of messed up. But the question is biological clock environmental or is it genetic? Oh, it's a good question. Well, what did we learn early in this class? Everything is both. So it's kind of interesting because you have your own biological clock. Do you get more done in the morning? Do you get more done in the afternoon? Do you get more done in the evening? Or are you a late night person? That biological clock is when you operate at the best or when you operate at the worst. Now, the scientific name for the biological clock is a circadian rhythm. So the scientific name is a circadian rhythm. Now, we're going to make an assignment at this time that I want you to go ahead and put in the drop box, okay? And I want you to try to describe, your biological clock. And with that, I need to know several things. I need to know when you're the most productive and when you're the least productive. When you feel like you get the most done. Do you get the most done early morning? Do you get the most done in the middle of the night? Do you get the most done in the evening? When are you the most productive? Okay. And then when are you typically going to get up in the morning? What time of the morning do you get up, and is it different from a weekday and a weekend? You say, well, yeah, I have to get up at 7 o'clock every day because I have to go to school. Well, you've conditioned yourself to have a biological clock. So the question is, when do you get up in the morning on a weekday, and then on a weekend, it may be the same, and when do you go to bed on a weekday and then also on a weekend? So once again, that's a real simple assignment. We just need to know when you're the strongest, and you may have 2 or 3 times. You may say, man, I'm the strongest man in the morning. By noon, I can't get that much done. Or you may say, right after lunch, I'm really strong. Or you may say late at night, 2 in the morning, I'm up just getting all kinds of stuff done. So once again, let's kind of look at this on your biological clock. Okay. So when are you the most productive? Okay? And when are you the least productive? It tells us a little bit about your biological clock. And then, when do you get up? And then when do you go to bed? And we split these off into weekdays and weekends. So, real simple assignment. Just drop that in the box. But think about yourself, because this is part of your autobiography. What's your biological clock? When are you at your best? Okay? When are you at your when are the most productive, and when are you at your roughest productive time? You know, for me, there's a certain point at night where I'm tired, and then all of a sudden it's like, if I have to stay up till, 12 and 1 or 2 in the morning, I'm like, oh, and I can't hardly get anything done. But some people are like, boy, in the middle of the night, they get up and boom, they're off and running. So what's your most productive? What's your least productive? When do you get up? When do you go to bed? So think about that a little bit. Describe your biological clock. Put it in the drop box and send it to me, and that's part of your autobiography. We'll put it all together. Is write your autobiography on the end. Okay, now we've got some terms here, okay? So now we're going into the scientific terms. So circadian rhythm is a biological clock. Well, now we're going to talk about, we had environmental things and we had genetic things. So what we call those in psychology and medicine is we say things are proximal that are environmental. Because proximal, the Latin word means close to. So if you're close to that in your environment, then that's going to affect you. So if I say, what are your proximal characteristics, then it's something that the environment has allowed you to do. Now, ultimate, because you can't change it, it's ultimate. The Latin word for ultimate means without change. Okay, you're stuck with it, but it's there and it keeps going. Ultimate means genetic. So from now on, when we talk about environmental things, we'll say, hey, what is proximal to this? Means what's caused by the environment. And then what are the ultimate things that are causing this? Oh, the genetics. Oh, this person has the genetics for fill in the blank. So that's ultimate, okay? So once again, different set of words. So that being said, let's look at this next term. Zone of proximal development. What a child can do alone compared to what a child can do with help. Now that's pretty interesting. That's pretty interesting because this zone of proximal development, that's a really big thing. That's a really big thing when kids come in to kindergarten or preschool at age 3 now. Kid comes into kindergarten or preschool, and this kid can might even be able to tie their shoe. Let's say a kid, let's say we've got a 3-year-old program, maybe not tie their shoe so much, but a kid starts counting, and the little 3-year-old kid can count, say he can count to 20. And then another kid, they say, well, start counting, and the kid goes, well, I don't know how to count. Or they say, what can you do? Do you know your colors? And so they hold out a crayon, and it's a red one, and this one kid goes, yeah, that's a red one, that's a blue one, and they seem to be a genius. But the problem is at age 3 and age 5, when they go into kindergarten, it's zone of proximal development. What has somebody helped you to do? Because if nobody's helped you do anything, then you haven't begun to learn it yet. And so those kids in preschool or kindergarten that nobody has helped with, they grow really fast. So by 1st or 2nd grade, the kids that we think are geniuses, they might be at or below the level of everybody else, but they have just had help with it. So it's kind of interesting. There's a town over in Texas. There's a down around the Dallas-Fort Worth area. There's North Lake, South Lake. Well, there's a town called Westlake, and it's kind of interesting because Westlake has a really good football team, and it's kind of interesting because the population is only 703. But what happens is there's a lot of Dallas Cowboys that live in there, so their kids are playing football for them. Okay, so I had a coach tell me, it says, I think zone of proximal development applies to some towns or some people, okay? Because if you've got somebody showing you what to do, you know how to do it. A really good coach is able to maybe have the team have a little better zone of proximal development than a coach that might not know how to show them how to do it. So either way, when we look at that, what a child can do with alone versus what a child can do with help. So, zone of proximal development, we have to look at that, and we have to remember that not all children are going to look like they're really intelligent and fruitful and productive, but it may be they haven't been shown. Okay. All right.